March 10th, sound check one, sound check one.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities for March 10th, 2026. We are currently waiting for quorum, so please hang on. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to, again, the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities on March 10th, 2026, meeting number 26003. Now we'll have a roll call for quorum. Please respond. Please indicate your presence when I call your name. Benjamin Cullimore. Kara Hernold. Gabe Regrets. Aliva Genosi.
Here.
Thank you. Leif Johansson.
Here.
Thank you. Hargan Carr. No. Paula Kilburn. Thank you. Jake Maurice.
Here.
Thank you. Mark McNeil.
Here.
Thank you. Tim Murphy. And Kim Nolan is with regrets. Tim Nolan.
Here.
Thank you. Robert Westbrook is with regrets. Councillor Mark Taddison.
Present.
Thank you. And James Kemp. I'm here. Would the staff who are present please introduce themselves with their name and position?
Carrie McIntosh, Legislative Coordinator.
Tamara Bates, Legislative Coordinator.
Thank you.
Michelle Martin, Manager of Accessible Transportation Services with the Transit Division.
Thank you.
Sunil Angrish, Staff Liaison.
Thank you.
Imogen Briggs, Placement Student.
Thank you.
Lauren Wright, Senior Project Manager, Community Engagement.
Thank you. Are there any other staff members present? I'm seeing none. Sorry, it just took me a minute because there's a lot there. So I'll now call this meeting to order. As we have quorum present for today's meeting, I would like to call this meeting the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities to order. As well, a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. Ceremonial activities. Elsie McIntosh will now read the Hamilton Land Acknowledgement.
The city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the city of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, North America, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers.
Thank you, Elsie McIntosh. Approval of agenda. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented?
Mark.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Paula. Thank you. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none. Are there anybody opposed to approving the agenda as presented? Seeing none, it's carried. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Now, I have a declaration of interest. I have a disqualifying interest on 9.1 as the persons of familiar relation. But seeing no others, we will move on. Approval of minutes of the previous meeting, 5.1, January 13, 2026, and 5.2, February 10th, 2026, no quorum. May I please have a mover and a seconder to adopt the January 13, 2026, and receive February 10th, 2026 minutes?
Mark.
Moved by Paula, seconded by Councillor Tatterson. Thank you. Are there any discussion on the minutes? I'm seeing none. Is there anybody opposed to adopting the minutes and receiving the minutes? I'm seeing none. That is carried. Thank you. Items for information. In the interest of time, we're going to hear all the items for information 7.1 to 7.9 and then receive them together at the end. 7.1, items from the February 10th, 2026 Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities agenda. Presentations, do we do anything in particular? Sorry, I'm not familiar with this process. Just receive it at the end, okay. So we have A, presentations, so 1, custom relationship management, 2, 2026 election accessibility plan, and 3, digital accessibility. We're also going to receive the meeting notes that were on the agenda for last month for Built Environment Working Group meeting notes. 1, February 3rd, 2026. 2, Outreach Working Group meeting notes, February 2nd, 2026. Transportation Working Group meeting notes, January 27th, 2026. 4, Transportation Working Group meeting notes, November 25th, 2025. 5, Transportation Working Group meeting notes, Accessible Transportation Services Policy Review, January 23rd, 2026. 7.2, Planning Transit for a Neurodiverse World, Hamilton Street Railway. I want to welcome Toronto Metropolitan University students to present today. Please share your screen. You will have 10 minutes to present, and then committee members may ask questions of the presenters. So the floor is yours as soon as you get yourself set up.
So through the chair, I'm just going to, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'll introduce our friends from Toronto Metropolitan University, and I'm sharing my screen, so I'll get the project slides up. Okay, good. So public transit can prevent several significant challenges for neurodivergent people. We know that this can lead to anxiety, stress, avoidance of the systems. And earlier this year, the HSR was invited to support a graduate studio course, a planning course at Toronto Metropolitan University, where a team of graduate students are working to understand the barriers that neurodivergent individuals face on transit, with a focus on recommendations to address barriers for Hamilton Street Railway. So I'm very pleased to introduce Derek Schmucker and Yaj Santiago, who will be leading a brief presentation today to tell the committee about their project.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Michelle, for that amazing introduction. As she said, we are from TMU, the Masters of Planning program, and we are going to talk today about this very interesting project that we are all very excited to be a part of. So yeah, planning transit for a neurodiverse world with the Hamilton Street Railway. Just to get started here, just a project overview. What are we actually doing? Our project is to work with the City of Hamilton, as Michelle said, and your transportation department, with the goal of developing a comprehensive framework for the design and operation of neuro-inclusive transit systems. So the intersection of neurodiversity and transit has only recently begun to make its way into municipalities' discussions around transit design. In conjunction with research that shows that neurodiverse people prefer using public transit and that 12% of Canadians are actually neurodiverse, our project is on the forefront of inclusivity action and transit design. So what have we done so far? First, we have begun we began looking at the background research, just doing a thorough search of just the literature in general. And then we looked a bit more focused at Hamilton and what the current practices are there. And then we started with a questionnaire. Part of our project, which I'll talk a little bit more later, is developing a comprehensive questionnaire for different transit systems around Canada. After that, we developed a presentation, which we've already done, and we started distributing our questionnaire. And that's the stage we're at now. And then we will, once we receive those results, we will start to develop recommendations. So going forward, what is neurodivergency and what is neurodiversity? Just a brief overview. So neurodiversity is a natural variation in how humans' brains function, while neurodivergence is an umbrella term that is commonly associated with things like autism, ADHD, and dyslexia. Despite this, neurodivergent experiences vary wildly, so there's no one experience. One of our first aspects of what we found looking at the literature was that universal design is key. So environments that are usable by all peoples of all ages and all abilities. And accessibility improvements for everybody improve the comfort for everybody. That being said, in conducting our literature review, we looked at 20 plus academic sources, and through these sources, we did identify 5 key barriers in public transportation: navigation, sensory barriers, communication barriers, predictability barriers, and mobility barriers. The second step that we undertook in this approach was mapping out the journey of people who take public transit and then applying those barriers that we identified through the literature review and seeing where those barriers were present within these stages of the journey. So the first stage was information. The second stage was setting off from the origin. And then the third stage was walking to the stop in the station. The fourth was waiting for the vehicle to arrive. The fifth was boarding the vehicle. The sixth was your time in the vehicle. Your seventh stage was alighting the vehicle or dismounting or disboarding. Stage 8 was leaving the stop in the station. So that was the journey that we summarized. And then moving forward with the findings, when we looked at this journey, we found that navigation, the first barrier that we brought forth from the literature, was present in all the stages. So interpreting signage, learning routes, and crossing busy streets are all barriers. All barriers, as well as unsheltered bus stops that are not recognizable by landmarks. The second barrier, sensory barriers, was present in 4 of these stages, which was walking to the stop, waiting for the vehicle, the time in the vehicle, and leaving the stop. So we found that a lot of people avoided busy routes and major transit hubs for fear of possibly being having sensory overload. We talked to 2 key informants, and one of the key informants, Yasmin, who volunteers for the TTC, described as feeling body to body packed, and it was so distressing that they needed to exit after one stop. So the second is communication. So this was present in 3 of the stages. During the first stage, finding the information, during the boarding stage, as well as the time in the vehicle stage. As on top of this, interactions with the drivers or requesting help can be stressful to a lot of people. So that was some barriers, as well as predictability. This was present in 3 stages. The first, information, waiting for the vehicle, and then the time in the vehicle. So essentially, how frequent is the service is important because a lot of people who experience have neurodivergent tendencies have difficulty following a schedule or may be unsure when it's going to arrive, and that might disrupt their routine. And then the fifth is mobility. So this was present in 4 stages: the information stage, setting off from your origin, waiting, and time in the vehicle. So things like seating, the shelter, and the alighting at stops were all mobility issues that were encountered in the literature. And these are sometimes invisible as well. So things like joint or muscle pain, for example. And Yaj is going to talk a little bit about the AODA policy gaps.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So the following table maps the barriers types to be identified against policy gaps in the regulation, and the neurodivergent impacts are as follows. First, with communication. Section 36 requires staff training, but it focuses more almost entirely on equipment use and emergency purposes. There is nothing requiring staff to recognize or respond to non-disable disabilities. Next is Section 51 of the AODA, requires announcements but only on verbal requests with electronic alternatives that have no visual simplified formats. This directly excludes those with auditory processing disabilities. Next. On mobility and sensory, predi- uh, Section 49 mandates priority setting, but there is no enforcement mechanism on this. Neurodivergent riders who genuinely need those seats are routinely denied them, and on predictability, perhaps the most striking gap, there is this Section 50 that requires notices of service changes but sets no minimum advance notice period. For riders with anxiety disorders, unpredictability isn't just inconvenient, it's a barrier to transit use altogether. And finally, on navigation, next slide, please. Sections 14 and 15 on WCAG 2.0 AA compliance. This is the website and the internet interface which is widely recognized as an inadequate for cognitive differences. Section 12's accessible formats requirement similarly fails to mandate plain language or visual schedules. The pattern is consistent. The regulation acknowledges accessibility, but it was not designed for neurodivergent users in mind. There are not minor gaps. There are systemic exclusions embedded in policy itself. And for the city of Hamilton, we have found out that there are current initiatives done by the city, like as a sixth strategic goal to help improve accessibility. Second is accessible transport services, accessible through the DARTs, the taxi script program, and the launch of the Hidden Disability Sunflower program of the HSR. I turn you over to Derek to the other slides.
Yeah, so thank you, Yaj. Another part of that, what we did was a jurisdictional scan. So just looking within the region at what was the current practices that were public. And we found that public engagement and awareness was being practiced in London as well as New Jersey. Expanding accessible transit eligibility was happening in York region as well as with the TTC, and staff training was happening in the TTC as well as in TransLink, as well as implementation of programs and tech support by several, including Metrolinx, UP Train, New Jersey Transit, and Go. So the key takeaways from this. So the key takeaways from this is that most interventions are programmatic, educational, or digital rather than structural. Transit systems are beginning to recognize neurodivergence as part of accessibility training, but the mainstream approach focuses on upgrading separate accessibility systems instead of adapting conventional transit. So yeah, those are the key takeaways. Our questionnaire, which I mentioned earlier, we've sent it out. We based it on the 5 barriers that I mentioned earlier, and how current systems are dealing with that. And our goal is to take those results, the best practices from those results, and apply those to Hamilton and see where they can potentially adopt new practices. And those are our next steps. Develop recommendations based on our results from our questionnaire and our literature review. Thank you so much for your time and listening to our presentation.
Thank you very much. So does anybody have any questions? I see Mark has got his hand up first, and then Paula next. So Mark?
Yeah, just at the very beginning when you're talking about the process, like just stick to it, entering the bus and exiting the bus, because alighting is not plain language. If you're going
Yeah.
to ask people questions based upon some sort of survey, it's probably better to stick to plain language. That's just a comment I had, that's all.
Agreed.
Thank you.
I actually, I think that Hamilton uses a lighting on the buses. We were on the bus recently. We were taking it just to as like a field trip, and a lighting is used on the buses, like it physically like present on the doors. But I agree that is something that we should.
So
Yes.
that's something that you could be in advance of their.
Not a bad idea. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks very much, Mark. Okay, next up is Paula and then Leaf.
Okay, if you are going to do this in Hamilton, are you going to do a survey? Are you going to send it out to people? How are you going to do this? What formats are you going to use?
Yeah, for sure. The referring to the questionnaire, I think one of my teammates might be better suited to answer that question. If Eric Moss is on the call.
I don't see Eric.
Hi,
If not,
Derek,
you
I'm
can.
here.
Oh,
I'm sorry, could the question be repeated, please?
yeah. So if you are going to bring this to Hamilton and do a survey, who are you going to send the survey out to? And will there be alternate formats for doing the survey?
Well, currently the plan is we're in communication with somebody from the Canadian Urban Transit Association. And so with their help, we're going to distribute the questionnaire to transit systems and municipalities across Canada. Currently, the format of the questionnaire, we're going to provide them a PDF as well as what they call SurveyMonkey, which is just like an online survey. And then using those, we'll be able to identify the results and sort of get an idea of the industry best practices across Canada.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up we have Leaf.
Hi. So I have a question on the recommendation for training with for helping with neurodivergent transit. So what I'm curious about is how long do you think the recommended training should be in order for it to be applied usefully? And also for how long do you think it should last for before there's options for retraining based on what you recommend?
Yeah, that's a great question. At this point in time, I don't think we have enough information to give a recommendation. Yeah, if one of my project members wants to speak on that more, may they speak up. But I personally cannot give a recommendation right now. I would like to wait for the survey results to see what kind of best practice is, and also not just how much time, but the specifics of what the training may be. Like if it be like just drivers, or if it be like, for example, like travel training, so like guiding people to learn how to use transit, because those are two different things as well.
Does that answer your question, Leaf?
Yes, it does. Thank you for answering my question.
You're welcome.
Of course, thank you for asking.
Mark, I believe, is up next for the second time.
Yeah, the one question I had is you have to be careful about these survey monkeys or these other types of online surveys, because you're going to cut out a whole lot of people that you're trying to target for information. And if the old IT saying garbage in, garbage out, so you have to be able to make sure you're targeting the neurodivergent population in order to be able to grab information that you actually need and can be useful. So I don't know if you already scheduled the survey or if you've examined it through that lens, but I think you want to make sure that you're targeting the audience that you're trying to get data from. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That could be a future endeavor. Currently, the questionnaire that we have developed is for industry, so like the systems and seeing, for example, like what I don't know, Regina or Calgary's systems are doing and how are they tackling this, and if they are. Though that is our current focus. I do believe that what you are suggesting is a necessary step. I'm just not sure if it's within the scope of our current project.
So actually what you're saying is that this is a higher level analysis right now so that you can dive in deeper at later depending on the information you
Yeah,
gather. Oh, that's good.
exactly.
So that's great. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Thanks very much, Mark. Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm seeing none. Paula, could you take the chair for a minute?
I have the chair, sir.
Excellent, thank you. I do have a few questions. Now, one, they were mentioning symbology for transit use. Is there some sort of established symbology for transit that you're aware of?
Not that I'm personally aware of. If one of my project members wants to add into that, or wants to speak to that, but me no.
Okay, I guess that would be a no then. Okay, thank you. Another question. You're mentioning overwhelming information online. So we're talking about things like schedules. Are you going to come up with ways of simplifying schedule access?
Yes, ideally that would be one of our recommendations. I expect that to be one of our recommendations. Specifically, for example, like physically on bus stops, for example, that would be one example of a place that there may be a simplified map of the stops, of the future stops, the route. But at this point in time, I'm not going to make any recommendations, but I expect that to be a recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Two more questions quickly. One, the questions you're asking in the survey, are they very restricted questions? Or are they more open-ended paragraph questions asking people their opinion or their experiences?
That's a great question. I will let my colleague Eric Moss answer that question.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. So the questionnaire, it's largely formatted in yes or no questions. For example, whether or not they might have some sort of, if they consider neurodivergent individuals when considering their priority seating policies. So majority of the questions are that yes no format, so we can kind of easily quantify and get an idea of perhaps how the industry is thinking about that. But we do also provide lots of other questions where respondents can go into a little more depth and elaborate on those responses with more open-ended prompts.
Okay, thank you. Because we are speaking of neurodivergent individuals, and it's very hard to predict with any certainty what they're going to respond to. So my concern is when you ask yes and no questions, you really are narrowing down the focus of any research you're doing. Thank you very much for that answer. I did have one more question on, I wish I wrote this down when I thought of it. No, I apologize. I've forgotten it. I will have to send it out when I remember again. There was one more question, but thank you very much. I will take back the chair, Paula.
The chair is yours.
Thank you very much. So before I thank these wonderful people for coming and presenting their work and wishing them luck, are there any other questions? No, Mark?
Sorry, I have a couple of friends who are neurodivergent, and one of the things that gets them really nervous is either an early bus or a late bus. So I'm assuming that public transit is not continuously on time, but how is there like an app or something that's contemplated to notify a person maybe who has the capability of doing it? some sort of smart device where it would allow them to say, bus is running late, to alleviate any sort of fear or concern that they might have about a bus arrival or on time, that type of thing. Again, that's just another comment or requesting for inclusive. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. Yeah, technology is definitely something that's being implemented in different parts of the region. Different apps exist, third-party apps, specifically notifications for being late. I'm not entirely sure. That is something that I expect to hear back from in the questionnaire results, it may be a part of our recommendations once we receive those questionnaire results. But yeah, thank you for your comment.
Thank you. So I did just remember my question, but you go ahead, Paula. What's your question?
Oh, well, don't forget it then.
I won't.
Okay. Okay. Where can we see the results of this report when it's finished? Are we going to be able to read it, or is it not for public consumption? Or?
Yeah, thank you. I think the idea is that it will be available for public consumption, and we'll be able to send it out freely. So if you're interested, and if the city of Hamilton's interested, we can send it out. I'm sure also Michelle will obviously get a copy, and she can distribute it internally for you guys.
Thank you. It's going to be a great report, I'm sure. It's going to open a lot of people's eyes. So thank you very much.
So,
I will take the chair, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my question quickly is, as a neurodivergent, invisible disability rider at times, I know that the issue is oftentimes with the operator or with the system or service itself, but also with the passengers. Is interactions with passengers going to be involved in your research?
It would be involved in the sense that it has been discussed in the literature, just like yeah, in the literature. So secondary involvement, whether or not that is in the questionnaire, I'm not sure. Maybe Eric can speak on that. Eric.
Yeah, I'm not certain if I'm answering your question here, but as part of the questionnaire, we do have certain questions that look at whether or not there are general awareness campaigns for the overall public to sort of spread awareness and educate riders on, neurodivergent needs and the barriers that they experience in transit to sort of help keep the conversation going. But I'm not 100% sure if that answers the question or not.
It partially does. I appreciate that answer. My concern is that, in my experience, the issues are largely to do with the other passengers not understanding the needs of people with neurodivergence. So I just have to raise a point that it may not be as secondary an issue as you were alluding to at the moment ago. I understand your focus is on the service itself and the operators, but the person-to-person interaction is important. I just want to make sure that that's recognized. Thank you. And I'll take back the chair.
You may have the chair, sir. What happened? Don't know.
Ask the question here. James, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. To me, it seems like what you're doing is a higher lens snapshot of this particular subject, neurodivergency in public transit. This will be used to further develop additional studies more specific to what's needed in each community? Is that you're trying to gauge what is out there right now? Is that correct?
Yes, that is
But you've come
correct.
to us really early.
Yeah,
That's a pleasant surprise.
we are focusing on Hamilton and working with Michelle and the HSR, and within the scope of our project.
Right.
That's just the scope, but it provides further opportunity for diving in and a broad framework for any community who would like to dive in.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? No? Well, I want to thank you very much, everybody, for coming and giving a great presentation, and we look forward to seeing more. We also look forward to seeing the survey, and I look forward to participating in the responses.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much for coming. Okay, moving on to 7.3, Accessible Transportation Services Customer Satisfaction Research Update Revised. Michelle Martin, Manager of Accessible Transportation Services, will present. Michelle Martin, please take it away. Oh, take the slides out.
Problem is eight.
Good. I think we're good, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you for having me here today. I'm bringing to you a presentation that's a high-level summary of the customer satisfaction work that's been accomplished to date by Accessible Transportation Services. Some of it has been presented already to ACPD. A great deal of it has been reviewed already with the Transportation Working Group of the ACPD. But today I'm bringing before you two summary reports for the information of the committee with the understanding that ATS will be revisiting the contents of these reports as we proceed and continue with our customer satisfaction research with the support of McMaster University students and continuing to consult with the ACPD and specifically the Transportation Working Group, the ACPD. So just a brief look at the road map. On the slide, there is an illustration of a road with 4 mapping pins. The first pin flags 2018 to 2020, during which we had the HSR Re-Envision project, and we had an ATS eligibility process audit. In 2021 to 2022, ATS examined with the help of a consultant in response to the eligibility process audit some business cases for various service models, including accessible transportation services and community buses. There was a motion from the ACPD in response to the related Public Works report from ATS, Accessible Transportation Services, for a Re-Envision-like project from ATS for services. In 2023 to 2024, the HSR network redesign was presented, and the ATS journey mapping project was undertaken, and a survey was launched. 2025 to 2026, we had to re-release the survey so that we could engage a third party, namely McMaster University, in the analysis of results. And we are continuing our research into the ATS customer experience, and we are also doing this with an eye not only to improving our specialized transit service, but with an eye to recommendations for how an integrated transit pilot would roll out in order to meet service needs as widely as possible. So you'll recall the journey mapping project. The summaries of the journey mapping personas were presented here previously. ATS, Accessible Transportation Services, engaged Dillon Consulting to add depth to our survey research through a journey mapping project to help us visualize the customer journey as a series of steps or touch points. And the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities Transportation Working Group was invited to comment as we developed the interview questions and how we would approach the journey mapping project. The final interview script and list of demographic categories used were sent to the entire committee to review to ensure concerns were addressed and that a broad range of experience would be captured, that interviewees were made as comfortable as possible, and that they clearly understood that they could decline to answer any questions. So comfort of the interviewees was paramount in order to capture good information about their journeys. So 5 personas were developed and presented to the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities at the November 12th, 2024 meeting. And I've put a link to the agenda item. It was agenda item 8.1 at that meeting. The personas spoke to the experience of using the shared ride service on DARTs. And just for everyone's, just to remind everybody, although the person who developed our personas spoke to this at the time, a persona is a fictional but true-to-life description of a user or customer of its service or product. And personas are used as part of a user experience or journey map research process to help create an understanding of how lived experience, demographic traits, and situational context informs the customer journey. So because the 5 personas have already been presented, I didn't put them up again today, but the link is there for everyone's reference, and they are also included in the comprehensive report. But a summary of the journeys tells us that pain points among interviewees included the ride booking or reservations process by phone, specifically long wait times, difficulty reaching an agent, challenges securing needed times. We see that missed rides and late pickups created anxiety and additional negative impacts like missed appointments or waiting outside in poor weather. Uncomfortable rides, bumpy rides were mentioned. Not as often as the previous 2 points, but they were mentioned. And time on board the vehicle was also a common pain point. The positive experience that was common among interviewees was the experience with the drivers themselves. The drivers were described as patient, helpful, friendly, and supportive. The consultant also asked questions of each interviewee to capture interest in or worries about using an integrated trip, where part of the trip is completed on the shared ride specialized service and part of the trip is completed on the conventional HSR service for anyone able to do so who would like to take their trip in that manner. And concerns about integrated service included crowding, a lack of space for mobility devices, difficulty accessing priority seating, a concern about vehicles moving before the person is seated, wait times at bus stops, winter maintenance and snow clearing at bus stops, crowded bus shelters or no bus shelter, a worry about a lack of assistance from drivers, and how long the trip might take them. Recommendations for an integrated service include web booking that integrates both services so the entire journey can be seen and booked. Driver training related to assisting persons with disabilities, enforcement of accessible seating on buses, accessible shelters and stops maintained in winter months, an integrated fare system. Presto taps do allow for transfers from one system to another. And not pressuring ATS customers to use the integrated services if they're not comfortable. And 5 out of the 13 interviewees in the journey mapping project did express interest in an integrated service, would be willing to give it a try. So now moving on to the survey. And we have with us here today Sadia Chowdhury and Theo Collins from McMaster University, who prepared the final report for the survey and have spoken already on a couple of occasions to the Transportation Working Group. So we know that the original notice of collection for personal information in the 2023 survey was too restrictive to allow engagement with a third party for analysis. And that memo was tabled at the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities meeting in June 2025. So the survey was re-released. We did have the benefit from the initial survey of a list of persons who had provided us with their names and contact information for the purposes of ongoing customer research, and so we were able to provide them directly with the survey and invite them to participate. And so after the survey was re-released, we engaged McMaster University School of Earth, Environment and Society to analyze the data. Overall, there was a lower level of response to the second survey release, which resulted in a sample size of 185 surveys once the data was cleaned up. The data did demonstrate a margin of error of 7% with a confidence level of 95%. That does make it useful for exploratory research, so it is certainly a good jumping off point for us. And the preliminary survey results were reviewed at the Transportation Working Group in September and October of 2025. So just very high level, because as you recall, there were over 50 questions on this big survey, and trying to hit the high notes in today's presentation. Most respondents used DARTs. Mostly physical barriers were reported for users of all modes of transportation. Overall, we have customer satisfaction as mixed, with high satisfaction with key personnel like drivers and staff, and low satisfaction with availability of service and waiting and travel times. And respondents also indicated that it's highly important for them to be able to book a guaranteed trip on the same day of service. So the table on this slide shows, again, a summary of DART's satisfaction levels. That's the shared ride service provided by the contractor DARTs. Satisfaction with key personnel, reservation staff, 86% satisfied. DARTs drivers, 85% satisfied. Satisfaction with trip features, waiting time, now we see the decrease, 60% satisfied. Trip length, 49% satisfied. Satisfaction with specific applications used for trip planning, web booking, 39% satisfied among 75 users who indicated that they use it. The Ride Advise program, 42% satisfied among the 24 users who indicate that they use it. The Where's My Ride application, 50% satisfied among the 88% users who indicate that they use it. And satisfaction with response when a complaint is made about service to accessible transportation service, we have 48% satisfied. And this is also table 1 in the report. And then the detailed breakdown of data that went into these percentages from the various questions can be seen in the appendix to the report. Satisfaction levels with the TaxiScript program. Ride booking, satisfaction when booking with a personal mobility device, we have 55% satisfied. Satisfaction with key personnel, we have 71% satisfaction with reservation staff, 58% satisfaction with taxi drivers. Satisfaction levels for accessible transportation services and persons with disabilities or respondents to the questionnaire who use the HSR to travel. With accessible transportation services, satisfaction with staff, 76% satisfied, and satisfaction with service overall, the question names, are you satisfied with ATS services, DARTs and TaxiScript? Overall, 60% satisfaction. With the HSR, we asked about satisfaction with HSR drivers, and we have a report of 67% satisfied. There were questions also about service priorities, and we asked these as we begin work on planning for an integrated transit pilot. Same-day guaranteed trip booking and access to a scheduled community bus to common locations were priorities for respondents across the city. And I don't have it here on the slide, but looking at the appendices, and Sadia will correct me, and Theo will correct me if I'm wrong, but similar to the responses in the among the journey mapping interviewees, we seem to have a roughly 30% interest in trying an integrated transit service among survey respondents. Looking at gender and age, One thing that's interesting is, though there were options to select non-binary or an option for self-description in the survey, only clients identifying as male or female replied to the question. So we do need to think about how best to reach gender nonconforming customers and customer research, future customer research. Overall, older adults over 65 who are female showed a higher satisfaction with the politeness, courtesy, and knowledge shown by ATS staff and the services provided by ATS. Our next steps, and we did have our researchers, Dr. Ravensbergen and Leah Ravensbergen and Sadia Chowdhury and Theo Collins speak to the Transportation Working Group last month to tell us about this. We're going to be continuing our work with McMaster University. We're very excited. We've got 3 objectives in mind. Working with them, we want to uncover in greater depth current experiences of paratransit services users, thinking about options like the use of focus groups. We want to also inform how best to integrate paratransit into the upcoming integrated transit pilot so that the experience is a very good one for people who wish to try the service. And we want to establish how best to conduct customer engagement throughout the integrated transit transition into the pilot for people who wish to try the service. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be pleased to answer any questions. And of course, we have Sadia and Theo here for any deeper questions about the data.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Pardon me? Mark has his hand up. Mark.
Throughout the report, when you were speaking about satisfaction, that's the benchmark from those respondents. Compared to the quarterly reports that we get, we're still looking to strive for that 95% benchmark of satisfaction. I guess that's a question. I have another quick question is, when you're gathering in these 3 areas that you want to continue to research into, are you going to be looking to find a fixed number of people to do engage, or are you just going to request for engagement and hopefully get 1,000 people? Those are the 2 questions I had. Thanks.
Thanks for those questions, Mark, through the chair. So the first question, the 95% is a benchmark in the performance report that has to do with the benchmark the service is required to meet for on-time performance and for trips that are honored, trip requests that are honored, so no greater than a 5% trip denial rate. Those are the 2 benchmarks in the performance report. They speak specifically to trip counts, late times, very objective, contractor performance in those regards, and not to what we would call customer satisfaction, right? So I think it's almost like a apples and oranges kind of question, because your trip might be, on time and you weren't denied it, but were you satisfied with the trip, right, is a different question. We do have a benchmark that we look for when we count the number of complaints per 1,000 trips. We would like to see, no more than 2 per 1,000, because that's the 2016 industry average for large systems, and Hamilton's a large system, which is, a lot less than 1%. So it's, again, it's almost apples to oranges, and that's based on complaints received, and that's not a proactive measure of how satisfied somebody is with a trip. So it's a different kind of measure, if that makes sense, if that answers your question.
So past performance versus future hopes?
I think so. Maybe that's a good way of expressing it. Yes, Mark. And when forgive me, your second question had to do with how we'll determine how the engagement happens.
With those 3 areas that you were looking to further study into,
yeah,
you're looking to engage people in Hamilton, are you looking for a specific number of people, or are you hoping to get as many as possible?
I think we'll hope to get as many as possible within the scope of available funds and resources. But thinking about how that is carried out and what that looks like is going to be a question really for our researchers who are our subject matter experts. And we are committed to engaging with the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities, specifically the Transportation Working Group, throughout that process. I know I've got the notes in front of me from when Sadia, Theo, and Leah came and spoke to the Transportation Working Group, and I know the group had a lot of excellent ideas, and I know that those notes are going to be tabled later in the meeting, so maybe I won't go into them now, but there were a lot of excellent ideas of how to approach the research that we plan to undertake in 2026 and hopefully 2027 as well.
Thank you, Mark. I believe next up we have Paula.
Michelle, integrated transit. You're trying to get people from paratransit to use HSR as well as the paratransit, right? Yes?
Yes, through the chair. We would want to be able to offer that option to people to provide as many choices for travel as possible.
Okay, so aren't most of the paratransit riders unable to use HSR because that's why they get DARTs?
Through the chair, I would hazard to say yes. However, there are people who do use both systems, and there are probably people who would use or would like to use the HSR more as an option for travel if it were made more available to them. And integrated transit is something that would make the conventional transit system, the HSR, more available to those people who are able to use the service.
Yeah, I understand that, but if you apply for DARTs, right, you most of your questions are you cannot use HSR. So are these people then who want to use HSR not going to be able to use DARTs anymore? It just doesn't make sense in my brain somehow.
So at this time, we're not making any changes to anybody's eligibility as determined.
I know that,
Yeah.
but it's just a thought that I don't know whether you thought of or whether it's part of the thing.
So through the chair, accessibility on the system, the two systems need to be hand in glove. And if there were to be any kind of future decision to find some people, depending on the barriers reported, to be conditionally eligible for service, it would have to be done in such a manner as to ensure that the trip that they're being provided with is fully accessible to them. In every respect.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me, that was all.
Okay.
But thank you for your answer, Michelle.
Thank you, Paula. Any other questions for Michelle on this? Councillor Taddison.
Hi, through the chair. I just have some questions about the taxi script. So it says 55% of the people were satisfied, 75 or 71% satisfied for reservations with staff, and taxi drivers were, there's 58% satisfied. Can I just have an understanding of what was the number of people that were surveyed as opposed to just the percentages?
Through the chair, if you'll give me 2 seconds, I'll flip through my hard copy.
Okay.
Of the survey results. Okay, so through the chair, it's Table 4, Appendix D, Table 4 in the large report. And each of the questions, the number of responses to each of the questions and the breakdown of the number of responses to each category of response is included in the table. So if you're looking at the question that was reported on the slide, which was satisfaction while traveling with a personal mobility device, the number of responses was 157 responses. And so under the satisfied category, I'm just going to report this, and then I'm going to ask Sadia to confirm that this is how she aggregated. She aggregated very satisfied, satisfied and somewhat satisfied together to give a satisfaction rate of 55%. Sadia, is that correct?
Actually, are you asking about the aggregation? How I have categorized 5 categories to 3 categories?
No, I'm asking about question 14, satisfaction while traveling with a personal mobility device on the TaxiScript program.
Okay. Yeah. Can you please clarify the question? Which aggregation here? Here.
So the number of the percentage of overall satisfaction with using a personal mobility device.
14 number question. Yeah.
Yes. The satisfied amount of 55% was an aggregation of the very satisfied, satisfied, and somewhat satisfied counts. Am I correct?
Yeah. Here, okay. Can I share my slide?
Sure.
Here, this is our question 14. Total, according to the questionnaire, total number of response, 157 people responded. Among them, while we are going for the specific satisfied proportion people, firstly we look into their specifically their proportion, and then very satisfied, satisfied, somewhat satisfied, unsatisfied, very unsatisfied. This group of people particularly answered how satisfied they are. Then from there, the very satisfied and satisfied people are aggregated to the satisfied people in the final result. Yeah.
Okay, so basically I was kind of trying to understand how many people answered the survey about TaxiScripts. And was that like total? I see there's a 139 number there. Is that what we're looking at there?
Here I am showing the question wise. Question 12, ability to use, 178 people responded here, and the 3 parents, 83 people responded. And the question we are talking, Q14, the satisfaction level with traveling with a personal mobility device, particularly 157 people responded to the question.
Okay, thank you very much. And I guess my final question on this is, how many accessible taxis are available to use for TaxiScript? Do we know that from this, or is this, okay, so that, okay, thank you. So I just see the motion of no, we don't know that. I would like to kind of understand the TaxiScript bit a little bit better in order to understand how many people are actually using the TaxiScript. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Councillor Tedison, are there any other questions? I'm seeing none. Okay, I might have a few. Paula, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay. First of all, you mentioned 5 out of 13 mentioned that they would try integrated transit. Now, the question here is very particular, because if I was to be asked, would I try integrated transit, I would say, sure, I'll give it a shot. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm actually interested in partaking in integrated transit.
Yes, through the chair, I understand what you're getting at, and I think that's why we also wanted them to ask more about, well, what would have to happen for you to want to try it, right? And what are you afraid of, right? And so that's why those particular questions were included. Because sure, if we just said, hey, would you give it a shot? Lots of people would say, okay, right?
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, the word satisfied gets used a lot, and I understand why it's used, but at the same token, it engenders the opinion that everybody's happy with the system, and unfortunately, we don't have any other options. As we pointed out, I believe in this earlier meeting we had with Sadia and the group, is that these are the options we have, and so when we say satisfied, it's within the level of what we have available to us.
Through the chair, and I think that's a very important point, and I think that's why, I know that's why we are so excited to be continuing our relationship with the McMaster researchers and continuing our engagement with Transportation Working Group over what our future customer satisfaction research model needs to look like.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I just wanted to point out that it's very easy to be confused by the word satisfied. It's just I think I made that point before. I think that was it that I had at the moment. I look forward to reading this in detail. Anybody else have a question? Sorry, I'll take back the chair. I apologize, I forgot.
Chair is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. Any other questions before we thank Michelle and Sadia and everybody? No? Okay, well, I want to thank you very much, Michelle. So we will be moving on. Thank you very much, Sadia. Oh, wait, pardon me. Mark popped his hand up.
Sorry, my attendant was here. Sorry. One thing I wanted to say is I don't want to say satisfied, but I'm really eager that you've had this relationship with McMaster. I'm much more happy about this than the other report, the Dillon report. I think this has provided much better road mapping into the direction we'd like to travel. But I think bearing in mind what the chair has said about the use of word satisfied. But anyway, I just wanted to thank Sadia and Michelle and everybody involved for pushing the boundaries on this. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Okay, we're moving on then. 7.4, Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities Terms of Reference Review Update. Sunil Angrish, Project Manager, Community Inclusion and Equity, will present. Sunil.
Thank you. Just going to take a moment to pull it up. Getting some lag here. Just a moment. So just to introduce myself, my name is Sunil Angrish. I'm the Project Manager for Community Inclusion and Equity, and I'm also the Staff Liaison for ACPD. I'm bringing together a brief presentation regarding a proposed timeline for a Terms of Reference review for ACPD. The slides I'm presenting will have a white background with a blue banner across the bottom of each page. Some quick background. This work all comes from the Volunteer Advisory Committee review, which looked at transitioning volunteer advisory committees into community liaison groups. This did not include ACPD and a few other volunteer advisory committees. Staff was directed to review ACPD for alignment with the new civic engagement model, but was not intended to transition. Some consultations. One of three. Volunteered in the spring of 2025, Steve Hamilton held its Volunteers Make Waves campaign, asking volunteers what motivates and inspires them to volunteer. A number of ideas were presented, including from ACPD. This included responses that included things such as travel assistance, training opportunities, and financial compensation, among other items. Further to that, I met with members of ACPD and additional city staff regarding the terms of reference. Some responses from members of ACPD included addressing the live streaming and recording of meetings, rigid meeting requirements, quorum rules preventing social occasions, the loss of in-person interactions, in-person meetings, and roles and responsibilities of members. I should preface, though, that ACPD is unique among volunteer advisory committees because of legislation, and it is still governed by the procedural bylaw, which will have impacts on what can and cannot be changed. Next steps is a report is going to GIC, I believe in May, that will outline some next steps and with some tentative dates, which are review of the terms of reference in April and May at the Strategic Planning Working Group. That would then subsequently go to ACPD in June. And then the minutes from that meeting would go tentatively to GIC July 29th. And that would be if there are any changes. Obviously, it's up to ACPD to make those determinations based on what is possible within limits of the procedural bylaw and other requirements. My contact information is here. I'm happy to chat on the phone, in person, virtually, or by email. And I'm just happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Thanks very much, Sunil. Is there any questions for Sunil on the TOR review? I see Mark's hand up.
Sunil, can you just send out the current terms of reference to everybody?
Yes, I can absolutely do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Paula?
Sunil, what other things can be changed then besides the terms of reference?
The terms of reference is the document that can be changed for our purposes. Everything else is bound by either municipal bylaw or by provincial legislation.
Okay, so just the okay. Thank you. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
No problem at all.
Anything else? Okay, I'm seeing none. Then I will thank you, Sunil, for your presentation, and we will move on. Okay, I have to relinquish the chair now because we have a built environment group working update.
I will take the chair, sir.
Thank you very much.
Built environment, okay.
Okay, so I don't have meeting notes for this particular month. We met with HSR to discuss snow removal. We also met with, oh, I've had a complete brain fade. Oh, right, we met with, sorry, what's her name? Christine
From?
on patios and
Okay.
Christina Geisler, that's it. Thank you very much. We met with Christina Geisler to discuss an upcoming BIA subcommittee presentation regarding improving accessibility of special events in BIAs and the experiences of using the BIA. So that was our Built Environment Working Group update.
Okay, so now we go to, what are we going to now? Outreach, yes, sorry.
Outreach, this month we discussed the upcoming volunteer recruitment drive, which should be going live on Meta sometime this week, as far as I understand, at which point we'll be able to distribute it out to the rest of the group as planned. We also discussed Imogen's presentation on engaging with care and reviewed accessibility fair events. We also discussed the upcoming March 24th Accessibility Day at Mohawk. Currently, I am going to go up there with one or two of our accessibility fair stations and set it up. I know Paula will be there with darts. There's an open invitation to any member that would like to come up and participate on March 24th. Just get in touch with me and I'll give you the information. And that was it.
Okay, thank you. Strategic Planning Working Group.
We did not have a strategic planning working group meeting this month.
And I will give you back the chair.
Thank you very much. 7.8, Transportation Working Group update.
Well, I think Michelle gave our update because it was mainly about the results from the survey and all that kind of thing. I really can't remember. I haven't seen the notes, so I'm afraid my brain's not as good as it should be. So as soon as I get them, I will send them out. Okay, sorry about that.
That's quite all right. Thank you, Paula. I did just want to mention that the taxi script was changed. I just thought you might want to discuss that for a moment.
Oh, that's right, yes. Actually, I don't know the whole details of that, Michelle. Is she still here?
Yep.
I am. I stayed for the notes through the chair.
Thank you, Hannah.
I believe you're speaking about the taxi script, the language in the taxi script guide, which says that customers need to inform reservations that they'll be paying with script. Yes, and we had, James pointed that out to us because there was someone who mentioned the concern there, and it's a real concern because nowadays we book trips on apps, we book trips online, we call and we get an IVR system and not a real person. And so there was a concern that this was a mandatory thing that had to happen. And we verified with both taxi script contractors that this does not have to happen in order for them to honor their obligations when they provide us with script for reimbursement. So that language is antiquated and is being removed from the taxi script guide. I actually struck it from the taxi script guide, and the revised version will go to our document control person, and then it will be posted online.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay.
Then 7.9, Open Spaces and Parklands Working Group update. Is there a verbal update, Tim? I don't think there is. No, okay. There is not. Okay, 7.10, Engaging with Care. Imogen Briggs, Public Engagement Student, will deliver the presentation. Imogen, take it away.
Thank you. I'm just figuring out technology. Hold on. Hi, so thank you for having me. For those who don't know me, I'm Imogen Briggs. I'm with the community engagement section of the city, and I will put this in slideshow mode because I forgot to do that. No. So I'm here to talk about the project I've been working on throughout my placement, which is called Engaging with Care. And so this is just the title screen. It's got a dark gray background with some white text on it. Yeah, so this slide has a light red, pink background with some white text. And just talking about my background, so I have lived experience identifying as a person with disabilities. I have been working in disability as kind of a support worker role since June of 2023. I'm currently pursuing my Bachelor of Social Work. I am the current facilitator of the Disability Action Group through the McMaster School of Social Work. And just a background of how I look at disability is I look at it through the socio-political model, which is basically just seeing disability as socially constructed and a political identity, and primarily using identity first language instead of person first, and then also using a disability justice perspective, which is that SINS invalids list of 10 kind of guidelines. So this is just a pale yellow background with black text. And so for the goal of the project is to provide engaged staff with tools to host accessible engagement events. There are 3 major sections that can be read independently, plus a glossary and additional resources. And in line with, the project is in line with engagement policy, the multi-year accessibility plan, and other city policies. So I'm just gonna give kind of an overview of some of the headings we have in the document, just because at this point, it's still being reviewed by my lovely field instructors, but it is 30 pages, and we're hoping to provide it to the outreach working group soon. So just going over the first section, this is a white, this slide has a white background and black text. And so for the first section, we're looking at general advice. So not really specific to any disability, any specific disabilities or conditions. So the headings we have in that section are: when in doubt, ask, be flexible, be attentive, be conscious of speed, be a clear communicator, be aware of the physical space, and be open and curious. And so the second section is more specific advice. This slide and the ones dealing with this section are on a black or light blue background with white text. And so this is dealing kind of with more so symptoms of disabilities. I tried not to use diagnostic language where possible, just because diagnosis is so complicated for folks and sometimes difficult to attain. So for this section, our subheadings are people using external mobility aids, people with prosthetic limbs and limb differences, other physical disabilities, people with sensory sensitivities, people who STEM, and then people who have seizures, people with speech barriers, people with service animals, people with support staff, people who perceive things others can't, people who identify as deafblind, people who identify as big D/little d deaf, deafened or hard of hearing, people with visual disabilities, people with processing delays, and other accessibility considerations. And then this slide, we have a light green background and white text, and it's our, for section 3, language recommendations. So this is talking about examples of outdated and, it provides examples of outdated and offensive language and examples of more respectful terminology. It has included in that more respectful terminology, there is person first language and identity first language. Just depending on preference and context so that people have more options. And then some stuff talking about awareness of how disability is sometimes used as negative, to imply negative connotations in common phrases. So then this slide is on a light gray background with white text. And so we presented it, or I presented this a very similar slideshow to this to the outreach working group. So thank you to everyone who was there and has had to sit through this again. And was provided some wonderful feedback. So some of the members provided examples of events where there were accessibility concerns. So things like no ASL captioning, tight spaces, no signage. Also provided some examples of events that were more positive experiences with things like dimmer lighting, less crowded spaces. And then also there was the suggestion to add an appendix with checklist of kind of when you're planning on the event, what steps you can go through and think through to try and make your space as accessible as possible, and to have that centralized across the city. So this continues the light gray background with white text. And for next steps, we're hoping to provide the outreach working group with a draft to gather feedback, hopefully in the near future. Then the hope is to revise and polish the document, provide you with the polished document for any final feedback, and then if revisions are needed with that polished draft, provide a final updated version. And then the hope is to distribute the guide to public engagement, community of practice staff. So then this slide has the same kind of colors from the slide. So it's light gray background and then stripes in light red, pink, yellow, blue, and green, and a larger one in the center with white that says thank you. And then it provides both my contact information with my City of Hamilton email and my lovely field instructor Lauren's contact information as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Imogen. That was great. Anybody have any questions? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Tazin.
I just wanted to thank you, Imogen, for presenting this. I think, you know, when we think about our values as a city, inclusivity, diversity, equity, and accessibility, I think accessibility is one that we really have to work on. The other three have been a big focus for the last decade, and accessibility has been something that's been focused on for years and years, but it needs to be more of a engagement process as opposed to just like a physical process. So thank you for addressing this. I think it's very timely.
Okay, I have to put a pause.
I have a question. I have a comment,
I
sir.
have to put a pause on this for a moment. We apparently have lost quorum.
Oh,
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we missed Jake. Okay, so we'll have to recess for 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes, and hopefully we can get Jake back. It just went out, yeah.
James, could that potentially mean a delay to 9.1?
Okay, we're good to go. Paula. And now you've forgotten. For Imogen, engaging with care.
There we go. I just wanted to say how wonderful it is to hear such enthusiasm. My goodness, it makes me want to do a whole bunch of things when I hear Imogen talking. It was amazing. Thank you so, so much. That's
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks, Paula. Is there anybody else that have any questions or anything like to say to Imogen? No? Okay. I do have one quick question, Paula, if you could take the chair.
I will take the chair, sir.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned there's a whole process here of going to outreach, coming back, getting reviewed. But you are a student, and I'm assuming this has to be done on a certain schedule. So what do we have to do to help you get this done for your schedule, but then allow us to come back and make changes?
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of why we provided Lauren's contact information as well, just because I am done my placement hours by April 2nd. I'm happy to work on things past that, as this is something that I am really passionate about. But yeah, that's something we're kind of talking through and trying to navigate, of giving you all enough time to review it adequately, and also so that I can revise it. So that's something we're still talking through, but we're trying to figure that out as best we can soon. Yeah, we're trying to get it to you by the end of the week.
Okay. Thank you for that. I also would be remiss if I did not mention that our working groups volunteers are opening positions. So please, by all means, if you have some extra time, we'd love to have you as well on our various working groups. Okay, I'll take the chair back now, Paula.
You may have the chair, sir.
Thank you very much. And I now have Mark.
Yeah, Imogen, just keep us in the loop so we can provide you as close to real-time information as required to help you retain that timeline and get information to you as quickly as possible. Thank you, by the way, for your work.
Thank you, and will do.
Thank you very much, Imogen. Okay, so unless there's no other questions, we will say goodbye to Imogen. No? Okay, well, thank you very much. Now, may I have a mover and a seconder, please, to receive all the items 7.1 through 7.10? Mover and a seconder.
Mark.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Jake. Thank you, Jake. I'll get you next time, Levi. That was a very eager wave. Is there any discussion on any of these items? I'm seeing none. Then is there anybody opposed to the motion? Then that is carried. Thank you very much. Items for consideration, 8.1 Housing Working Group. Do I have to give out the chair for this, or am I just reading this? Okay. A, Housing Working Group meeting notes, January 23rd, 2026. May I please have a mover and a seconder to receive the working group meeting notes and approve the recommendation from the Housing Working Group? And a mover and a seconder. Moved by Mark and seconded by Paula. Oh, no, second by Levi. I did say Levi would be next, so get Levi there. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving the recommendation that the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities, ACPD, requests that the General Issues Committee refer Appendix A, the Housing Working Group's report entitled Quality of Life Recommendations to Improve Residential Care for its Residents, to staff for consultation with ACPD in preparing its recommendations respecting proposed improvements to residential care through the modernization report. Is there any discussion or questions on that? No questions? Okay. So then, is there anybody opposed to approving the meeting notes for the housing and the recommendation? I'm seeing none, and that is carried. Thank you. I have to relinquish the chair and close my mouth now.
Yes, you do, sir. Okay, so we have a motion, and it is Mark's motion. Would you like to present your motion, Mark? Did we lose Mark? Sorry,
No.
Mark.
No,
Oh.
I was trying to unmute at the same time. I got a pop up. So I had it up here, so I just have to look for it again. Or is it, if I click on it, is it there? I have too many windows open. Okay.
Harry, can you? Oh, did you get it, Mark?
I found it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. City of Hamilton motion accessibility committee for persons with disabilities. Initial date was February 10th. And it's moved by me and seconded by Paula. Honorarium motion for James Kemp Jr. regarding work for the Hamilton Accessibility Fair 2026. Whereas the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities, ACPD, requires services related to A, graphic services, B, web services for the Hamilton Accessibility Fair, scheduled for September 4th, 2026, C, photography services, and D, t-shirts. Where the ACBD budgeted an honorarium to James Kent Jr. of $400 in total for the 2025 for related similar services. Therefore, be it resolved that the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities be authorized to recruit James Kent Jr. to assist the ACBD for the required services. B, that the ACBD budget $150 for each one of those four categories for a total honorarium of $600 plus an official thank you letter. And I think that's the end of the motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about the motion?
I don't see any, Paula.
Thank you. We have to vote?
Yes, please.
Okay, does anybody have any, I've forgotten the word. Anyway, are we all in favor of having this motion carried? Do I see yes?
Nobody's responding.
Anybody against?
And nobody's against, I don't think.
Oh, nobody against? Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, that's that. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Paula, we're moving on to 9.2, Ability First Annual Accessibility Fair, September 4th, 2026, wireframe website design. Moved by James.
Okay. That's James's. Okay, James. Sorry.
I believe we need a seconder.
Oh, sorry.
Mark.
Yes, we do. No, I seconded the motion.
Okay.
The motion was done by Mark and seconded by me.
No, this is the wireframe one we're moved on to.
Oh, the
I've moved
wireframe.
it.
Okay. Okay.
I'll second it.
Sorry, James.
That's okay.
Confused today. Okay, so what are we doing now then?
Read it
So,
out, or, yeah, okay.
yes.
Okay, just going to read it out, Paula.
Thank you.
Whereas the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities, ACPD's Outreach Working Group, OWG, has undertaken a redesign of the ACPD website from a Diversity First Accessibility Fair-based site to a committee-based site in an effort to improve communications and better inform the public about the ACPD and its activities. Whereas the OWG has recommended a 3-step process to ensure the most input during the design phase and has completed step 1, a wireframe design attached as Appendix A, which provides a basic layout and design structure of what the website will look like and how it will function. And whereas the OWG requires the ACPD's approval to move forward with step 2, consisting of building the website without color or imagery. Therefore, be it resolved that the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities approves the wireframe website design attached as Appendix A, and that the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities approves the Outreach Working Group moving forward with Step 2 of the new ACPD website, basic website construction.
Okay. So that motion was put forward by James and seconded by Mark. Do we have any discussion on the motion?
Seeing none?
No? Seeing none? Anybody against the motion? No?
I don't see any, Paula.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Paula.
Okay.
We're on to
Right, I've
9.3.
Is that a motion? Sorry.
Yes, it is, 9.3.
Yeah.
I have lost my thing. Okay, so what is 9.3? Sorry.
Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities membership.
Oh, right, I just read that.
Intent.
Okay. It's all right, I got too many things in my head. Okay, who has the motion for that?
I'm
You,
moving
James?
it. I'm moving it. It needs a seconder.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
So would you like to read it, sir,
I'm
please?
just pulling it out of this tome that I've been given. Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities membership, whereas Benjamin Cullimore has missed more than 3 consecutive meetings of the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities and has not provided any explanation to their absences, whereas Tim Murphy has missed more than 3 consecutive meetings of the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities and has not provided an update to their absences, and whereas the procedural handbook for citizen appointees to Citizen of Hamilton Local Board states that when a member misses more than 3 consecutive meetings during their term, the chair, after hearing and considering any explanation provided by the member, may ask the member to resign or request that council remove the member. Therefore, be it resolved that council be requested to remove Benjamin Cullimore and Tim Murphy from the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities membership effective immediately.
Okay. Any questions, comments about this motion?
I don't see any, Paula.
Nope, seeing none, then can I have a vote? Anybody against the motion? No?
Motion carried.
Motion's carried.
Okay, and then I will take back the chair, please, Paula. But
Oh,
don't get
thank you.
comfortable.
You may take the chair.
11, general information. Is there other general information or other business anybody would like to discuss or bring up at this time? No? Then I would like to mention a few items of interest before we go to our community. So Paula, if you could take the chair quickly again.
Yes, sir, I have the chair.
Thank you. I was fortunate to attend the Haptic Horizon Symposium last weekend, which was, it was an interesting art show that used different mediums other than the visual to explore art through vibration, texture, sound. A neat little booth they had allowed you to modulate sound and frequency so that you could try and explain a pattern you were seeing, like felt interlaced with dowel rods, for example, just trying to communicate to somebody else on the other side what you're seeing through amplitude modulation. It was an interesting event. Saw a number of interesting things like a 3-dimensional tactile magnetic braille board, which I wouldn't mind purchasing one for the accessibility fair. Provided a really great tactile, even artistic medium for people with vision loss and visual impairment.
I'd love to see that.
It was really neat. I'd like to put it forward to bring it to the next fair. Another point of interest, I went to the symposium and watched an individual sign Oneida Sign Language, which was then interpreted by a deaf interpreter, which was then interpreted by an ASL interpreter. It was a very, very interesting evening, and I got to see a more wide perspective. So I want to thank people from Center 3 and Vibrafusion, who also were part of our Inclusive Art Show in 2023. Other issues I'd like to bring up, I already brought up the March 24th Accessibility Day at Mohawk. If people would like to come volunteer, just let me know and I'll give you some information. April 14th, we moved next month's ACPD meeting to allow members of Transportation Working Group to attend the Transit Expo on April the 14th. I currently have 3 people signed up. I have 3 spaces available with our new quorum level. So please, if you're interested, let me know so that we can make arrangements depending on your needs or devices and whatnot. Snow removal. I've been speaking a lot to snow removal lately, but I will also put on your radar that the Seniors Advisory Committee has a motion coming forward in April regarding snow clearing. Sorry, I just had a total brain for there. Snow removal other than what the city does. So resident snow removal clearing. I will go and speak to them on issues that we raised regarding the poor conditions that the city is doing to clear the priority routes. So that hopefully we can get somewhere with that. The full snow removal review will be happening at BWG either next month or the month after if I can't reschedule it properly. And the last thing I'd like to bring up is volunteer recruitment, which will be going out live this week. We are now on a 3-month campaign with Meta and The Spectator, and as soon as we get their advertising package, we'll have it sent out to the counselors' newsletters and other mailing groups. Those are my updates.
Okay. Would you like the chair back, sir?
Jake has his hand up, so I think I'll let you.
Sorry, Jake. Yes, Jake?
I was just going to say to James that I would like to do the Transportation Expo.
Absolutely. You're actually, we're getting an email tomorrow specifically on that, but thank you for getting ahead of that, and I will put you down on the list and give you some information. You'll also have to let me know what your requirements are, because it's going to be a full day.
Okay, will do. Thanks.
Thank you. Mark has his hand up.
Yes, Mark. Sorry.
Ditto.
Yes, sir.
The exposition expo.
Yes.
You were one of the 3 people that already had signed that. I'm just trying to arrange a lunchtime.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing anybody else.
Good. Okay.
Then I will take the chair
Thank you, James. Take back the chair, sir. I have one thing. Lisa Hefner, our Mountain MP, is coming to my house on a week on Saturday, whatever day that is, anyway. She's coming to congratulate me for the Order of Hamilton, but if anybody has anything they want me to give to Lisa about disability, about how to, anything you've got that you want the federal government to know, send it to me and I will make up a package and give it to her. I think it's a great opportunity to, to get things under her nose there. So it's a week on Saturday. I don't know the date.
Okay, thank you. So if anybody has anything they'd like to pass along to a member of Parliament, please pass it along to Paula. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
So I am seeing no other information or other business. Oh, great. I can't believe we're actually out here 10 minutes early. Okay, I will now call the meeting at 5:50.
You did
So
a
the
great
meeting
job,
is now
sir.
adjourned at 5:50. Thank you very much, everybody. I really do appreciate you coming out and making quorum. That's great. All right,
Thank
thanks
you,
very much.
sir.
Thanks to staff and thanks to the presenters, and have everybody have a great day.
And that's